have a V45 Vickers double vane pump, and we got new cartridges. And I'm going to show you how to configure this thing. Okay, this is a new cartridge, the large side. I've already checked that out for the rotation. I put the new bearing on, Timken bearing. Don't use Chinese bearings. You have a little snap ring back here. That's where they go. So now I'm going to show you this. The smaller cartridge has to be worked on, okay, because the way it's configured. And there's a little bushing in here we have to push out, and we have to flop the vanes on it and make sure the rotation, because these things go back to back. So it's a little bit confusing. So let's see what we can do here. So we're going to take, first thing I like to do is on the cartridge that comes out, you always want to scribe these things because parts get moved around. Okay, so you take a scribe on this thing, and I do a little triangle just in case when it gets taken apart. Sometimes these things sit on the table for a while and you forget. And you can also take pictures with your phone. I'll show you that. So I'm going to make the two things are okay. I can tell this is the wrong rotation on the new one. So what we're going to do is open this up. Okay, I'm going to set that like that. Okay, we're going to This is the new one here. Now when they ship to you, their rotation is standard for a single pump, but this is a double pump, so it's opposite. It's a little confusing. You got to really watch this or this thing won't work. This is brand new. Okay, so the vanes, you can take a picture. Just so you can remember, in case something happens, you have to go somewhere or whatever. Okay, so I can tell right now, so I have to flop this one to look like the original in there. Okay, so I'll pull the cam off. And then we're going to take this, and you can see the vanes have a sharp edge on them, and that's the direction you want to go. So I'm looking at this, okay, the vanes are pointed like that. This is down on there. I like to put a little grease on this. Put the rotor and the vane assembly. Check where the vanes are pointing, and then now you have to look at this cam. The cam has to be flopped. You know, this could get real confusing. You can really have a problem and not. They stick this pump on there and it won't operate properly. So there's that cam. So I know the cam goes like that. Okay. So one thing, this particular unit, let's see here, I think we got to push this. Let me take a look here. I believe we need to push this bushing out the way this thing works. No, not on this one. So now we're going to change the way these go to the original. going up, that's correct. I'm going to put this original one back the way it came. Okay, so probably just kind of hand tighten that off, double check. Okay, so now what we have here is a piston compressor. Put this on here, and you're going to, this is so you can get the thing to be lined up so it goes in the housing. Tighten that up. Then you'll tighten your Allen bolts in here on the assembly. You don't want to over tighten these things. Good tighten of it. Keeps the assembly all together. That way it goes in the housing. Okay, so now we have the two new assemblies in there. And so these will go like this inside the housing. They're back to back, but the vanes are still pointing the same direction because this is a double pump, and you got to really watch that. Okay, and you got to set a new seal kit. You got the seals here that goes in the housing. I'm going to put that there. Remember, you're always going to use good quality bearings. Do not use Chinese bearings. This thing will not last. Timken standard, or SKF, or some kind of a German or Japanese bearing only, or you'll be sorry about that. Okay, so we got the two brand new housings. We got the correct rotations on there. Now let's install the seal. Here's a shaft seal. Okay, and you don't beat on these things. They got a little wire keeper in there, little spring. You don't want to knock that out. That's happened before. So now let me show you something else I had a problem with. In the past, some of these seals, they leaked a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put a little bit of Loctite around the outer edge. I'm going to be real careful with this. I don't want this getting in the seal, but just because of the past, the way these things work, and it shouldn't be this problem, but I've just started doing this because I've seen what happens here. And this is not a mandatory thing, but I just start doing it anyways. Just put a little bit on there and just coat it. And you don't want to get that on the seal. Just a little coating in there, just to, these things run pretty hot around the outer edge, so when we press that in there, okay, you can get one of these little seal installed until it gets a little bit bigger when you push it in there. Looks good, everything's intact. Okay, use your grease, lube up that seal a little bit. Okay, now you have a washer that sits on top of that seal. And then finally the keeper. Now, make sure there's no sharp edges on this. I put it on the lathe and I rounded that a little bit because the champers have had a problem. If you just bang these things in there, sometimes it'll knock the seal or cut it, so we round that a little bit. You can't, it's just a slight deal with the little sander. That way there's no sharp edges when you push it in. You make sure you got your snap ring on there. We're going to work this down in there. There's a little rubber seal in here. Pop this back one out so the oil from the case can get in it. Keep that lubed. Then you have your keeper in there. Little spiral ring. Make sure that seat's in there good. Check that out. Okay, that's good. Okay, so now you're going to take your first housing. You got a seal that goes around the housing. And then it comes factory, it already has the seals on here, but this one's loose. So we're going to lube that up and it sits down inside. Put some on here, that way. Okay, there you go. Okay, so we're going to drop this down in here. Okay, now you got this O-ring. This seals the case, and you got to make sure on these because these get cut if you don't pay attention. They get knocked out. So down in this groove, you're going to put some glue grease in here. And this is a Viton O-ring. It's brown. It can take the heat. But you just want to make sure because sometimes these don't fit. See, it's like a little bit bigger. It fits in there real tight. You don't get it down, and you start slamming the housing on. See, it keeps popping out. It will cut it. You got to really pay attention to that. You got it sitting in there. You don't want a little piece sticking up because when you drop the housing on it, it will cut it. Okay. Now you have these